Okay, so you've achieved this in 5 minutes. The next part is to explain how you can add some further layers of tone and detail. So if we look to my original drawing, how you'll be able to build up the sense of depth in your drawing and also add multiple layers of tone. Okay, so for this you will need your pencil again, you will need a rubber, and you will need one of these if you've got one, so it's just a cotton bud, or if you don't have one of those you can just use your fingers. So the first thing you need to do is, obviously we've created all of this lovely texture in our drawings, but now we need to build areas of light and shade. So like I said before, to build up areas of different tones, it's not about pressing really hard with your pencil. Keep your pencil marks nice and light, but you're going to build those areas of texture and tone. So carry on using those little flicking marks, and we're going to build up around his nose an area of dark. I'm going to carry on along this bottom edge, and I'm also going to put a little line of tone around here. Right, so to also kind of emphasize his eye, I'm going to add some little marks. Again, nice little flicks. But remember, just keep your pencil lines sort of nice and light, and try and have a bit more control over them, and maybe slightly shorter in their length. Right, okay, so just on this top edge, build up that tone here. And the great thing about keeping your pencil lines light and not pressing too hard is you've got control. As soon as you press really hard, then there's not a lot you can do to kind of come back from it. So I've added some tone to his face. I want to do the same to his kind of spike. So I'm just going to now, I'm going to use some slightly, I'm going to press slightly harder. And you can see you can do two things. You can either use little flicks with the point of your pencil, or you could use your pencil on its side. So you kind of backwards, forwards. And remember, I can still partly see my semicircle, so the idea is that you're not going to be able to see any of that. Right, okay. So next thing, we're going to just build up a bit more tone along the top edge of that leg. And this one here. And lots of nice little marks. And I'm just going to build up a bit more tone along this bottom edge here. Okay, so we've got lots of nice tone going on, but we're going to still build on that. So one way of doing this is by using a cotton bud. And this is a really useful, I mean, you can buy lots of specialist tools to do this, but this is something that most people have on hand. And this will just enable you to move some of the graphite, so some of the pencil on your drawing. So just gently, again, using the same flicking movement, just begin to work that tone. So you need to think of your drawing as a bit like a story. So a story has multiple layers to it, and that's the same as a drawing. So you've now probably got a couple of layers in your drawing, and now you're just adding another one, another aspect to it. So lots of lovely flicking movements. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to be a bit more controlled. So just around his nose, and this basically softens the tones that you have created. It's particularly useful around the areas where you've built up the tone. Just here. What I'm going to do on the ear, just move that tone around a little bit, and in his eye. Okay. So next part of our drawing, we're going to come back in with our pencil, and we're going to start to refine and bring out some of the textures that you will see on the hedgehog. So again, coming back in. Now this time, I'm going to press a little bit harder in places, but lots of lovely small flicks with the pencil. So this is all about building up texture, and also, whilst you're doing that, building up depth in your drawing. Just going to come back to the ear. So remember, just think you're not covering up what you've done already, you're adding another layer. to the drawing. Just going to build in some darker tones around the eye. And actually what I might do really carefully is just build in some tone here. Come back to that nose in a minute. So using lots of little flicks. And then finally, we're going to just come back to the spiky part of the hedgehog. So you can see flicks. If at any point you feel like you need to sharpen the pencil, then obviously do that, and really try and experiment with how you move your hand and what effect that has on the mark that you use. So now I'm using like a kind of brushing technique, and actually what that's doing is it's achieving some really nice, interesting, fine marks. So what you're trying to achieve is a little bit of a distinction between the hedgehog's head and its body, but equally you need to consider that kind of line isn't going to be sort of a well-defined edge. Right, okay. So we need to sit the hedgehog, because at the moment he's just floating in the middle of your piece of white paper. So I'm going to use my pencil on its side and just long, quite light marks, sort of sweeping along the paper. I'm going to build them up a little bit. Sort of towards where the hedgehog sits. I'm going to come back with my cotton bud. So a thing to say as well is sometimes, you know, do something and then sort of sit back and look what you've done before you move on to adding any more tone. So I've developed a bit of tone here. Just going to put a bit more of a hedgehog texture. And now I'm just going to use my cotton bud. I want to just put a bit of tone you could put in some squiggly lines. I'm like twisting my pencil around, so in this kind of movement, so to give the impression that he's probably sat on something that is not completely smooth and flat. And there you have it. So, little hedgehog. Hopefully you have learned about creating a range of marks with your pencil, also about how to develop the sense of depth by building up your tones with a pencil. Oh, quickly, the other thing you could do, if there was a little bit of tone that you maybe want to get rid of, you can actually use a rubber to lighten up parts of your drawing. But the main thing to remember is keep your pencil lines nice and light and to build the tone rather than just pressing really hard, which basically will mean that you're not able to build the tones and you will just end up with everything looking the same. There you go. I could probably go on for another hour fiddling around with that. Hope you've enjoyed.